This conference will now be recorded.
So hope everyone has set up the Git related stuff like creating account and accepting my invitation. So Ritvik and Bhavya, you haven't set up those things, I think. Please go through them. Yesterday in the evening we had a session for basic, uh, any doubts our students are having. So we just connected and we have resolved some of their issues and some of their queries we have addressed. Yeah, so if you see in my particular local, when I see the git log, and if you remember in the first session, we have a committed and we have a pushed the code to the remote repository. That means a remote GitHub repo. Now this case, I just want to list out what are the commits that are made for the remote repository and even for the local repository. So git log hyphen one line will align. Let me just give you without one line and with one line. So for adjusting the command git log, it has shown me the two commits which I have done with all the author information, a date, and the commit information with the commit message. So anytime you don't want all of the information and you just want to check a simple single line of history, what is the commit name and followed by what is the message, so that you can proceed with git log hyphen one line. Since we are not a developers and we don't want to see who is the author or who's a particular change and in a multiple lines, so to just want to list out in a single line, so we mostly use a git log hyphen one line. So there are many ways to format. Basically this one line is a formatting. Let me check, do we have any other options? Formatting our output, example here output is in a log. So log is nothing but it will just give you a history of a file or commits which are done for this particular branch. In this case I'm in a master, so I'm just listing out or doing a history or doing a log for this particular master branch. And we can see we can log between head and origin. with complete diffs. So you want to see every each and line. So nothing much difference when we use a git, a log and full diff. So when we are appending this with a particular commit to commit, when we are looking into git diff, so that time we will see that what exactly happened to the each and every line of a file when we are looking into that. And this case, and yesterday one of our student has already made our change, made the changes in my remote repository. So under my hello world repo, we have only one branch, and under my branch we have latest four commits. One is with my user, and second one also with my user, the commit message, and you can see the user which you have configured there in your local git bash while using a git config -n global, the user dot email and the user dot name. So when I click on that particular user, it will just listing out the commit names and all. Let me just go back. So we have only three contributors. We can see there, and still others need to accept and contribute to this with your basic commits. Let's check what is the commit messages or commit content which we have got on this particular commit. Okay. So and now in my local, if you see git log, I have only two lines of two particular commits which I have done earlier. Why? Because it is not in sync with a remote repository. What I exactly meant by that? So whenever you are working on your local copy, you will be completely disconnected, and whatever the changes you are doing in local, in my case, so let me just create a new file or edit this existing file. So I'm just adding a new print statement.
Rajendra, we should aware of this Java language as well.
No, no, no. So I'm just giving an example with our Java code. So we shouldn't be aware, but basically some people may ask, uh, Even they used to mention in the job description should be aware of a Java coding and their regular compilation issues and all. How when compilation issues occur, how do you resolve all those stuff they used to ask. But yeah, mostly 99% of the cases, 99.9% of the cases, nobody ask about Java code and their structure or what exactly about that and the compilation issues. Nobody will ask. In a worst case, there may be a situations where um, mostly our role is to support development activities. Like if the project is very big and they have many microservices and many development teams, in that situation where we need to be always dependent on a build part. So we have to help the developers and we have to track the build failures which would happen, so that every time when you look at the code and somebody has missed to update the semicolon and they have pushed the code, and we know, okay, somewhere it is in a syntax error in a line number 6. Let me just see. It is under https. So I'm compiling my Java code. Now we can see there is a compilation issue. Hello world.java file, it is throwing in a line number 6. So error was semicolon is expected at the end of this line. And these are some basic syntax level errors, and we might correct it, and we might know some where it exactly it is happening by looking at this error log. Or even when we integrate with a Jenkins, and every commit it used to build, and it used to create a build, and it used to uh, once the compilation is over, it packages and it will publish the package into some our local repository or any S3 bucket which we have. And in this situation, clearly, this particular semicolon is missing, and that's why it is a failing. So these are some basic things when we look at any log, any error log, that we come to know directly when we when we read this particular error log. So, but it is not a mandatory that everybody should be aware of, the compilation issues of any source code or any language or any technology like other Python, Go, and .NET or a Java. So mostly that's not our responsibility. Whenever we encounter any errors in a compilation, we can just forward these errors to the respective developer. How do we know that respective developer? So we have a log, git log, and I'm talking about when we integrate our git repo URL into Jenkins for a continuous integration. So as I mentioned, every check-in or every commit or every push I'm doing to the git remote repository on a particular branch. Now I'm in a master branch. I want to create a new build out of it, because what's happened in industry in general. So when we integrate multiple developers code, imagine we have 100 developers or 200 developers code. Yeah, here is a dev one who made the changes. He is second developer, and these guys are making changes. These are commits, and when multiple developers are working on their feature branches, I'm not talking about a master. There are some other branches as well. Let's discuss that in today's session. So this is the baseline code. Either it is a feature branch, or just imagine it is a branch name 2 or a feature 2.
So whenever clone, I mean, whenever we want to perform a clone, we will take it from master only, right?
For initial clone, we will take it from the master, but it can be done with a specific branch as well.
Okay. But it is recommended only to take from master, right? I mean, any recent commits
No,
into the
actually,
production.
it is basically it is recommended to take it from a particular branch.
Okay. Then how our mean, if there are any particular tickets which are assigned, so I have one ticket in my queue and other two
Mm,
tickets were delivered into the production.
mm.
So in such case, how we can take?
So the branches we have to create it based on our ticket. We need to create the branches.
Hmm.
So in this case, for your answer, and let me just keep that question aside. So we have a feature one branch and a feature 2 branch and a feature 3 branch. These are the three developers. They're working on their local feature branch. Um, that might be derived from the branches. The branch might have derived from master. One second. Uh, yeah. So from the master, they have created a new feature branch. This guy also created a feature branch from the master. This developer also created a feature branch from the master, and then they started working on their feature branch 1, 2, 3, and so on. The number of developers will vary. Based on that, they will create, and based on their user story or ticket, they will work on that. So once after these particular changes are over, what they do in general, so they used to merge back to the master branch. If you hear any noise, just let me know from my side. Somebody is talking outside. Again, they will merge back to the master branch. In the form of a pull request. Pull request is in a concept that I will explain you. So whenever a merge is happening, merge in the sense from the source branch, from the feature branch, now I'm merging to the master because I want my feature changes to be available on a master. That's where I'm working independently on my feature branch. Once my feature branch has finalized my features, I mean, once I have verified my um, the feature in this particular feature branch, if everything is goes fine, and I will raise a PR back to the master. What is this exactly? Everything goes fine. So whenever a developer got assigned any ticket, and he will work on in a 2 to 3 days, or based on points which are assigned to that story, points assigned to that particular ticket. Imagine the story point is 1, and he need to finish the task in 1 day, and on that particular 1 day task he will create a new feature branch 1, either that is a bug, or either that is a feature enhancement, or that is any production the deliverables support ticket. So those kind of branches he can create, the naming convention I'm talking about. So after that, once the development is over, they will raise a pull request to the master branch from the source to the master branch. Once it is approved by the development leads or colleagues or managers, so they will get, you know, merged to the master all these particular changes. Likewise, many developers used to do, and many other developers also follow the same thing. So when it comes to multiple developers are working on their local branches, and they're trying to push, or they're trying to merge back to the master, in that case there might be a many conflicts, or there might be a feature one or something, a dev one changes might overwritten by the dev 2, or dev 2 changes might overwritten by the dev 3, or some features they might remove, or some files they might remove. So, and we should know that every check-in or every commit or every merge happening to the master, it should be compile error free. That means this particular code which is going to be built from the master has to be error free. We should not find any compilation errors there, because in this particular, whenever a developer is raising a PR, we used to enable pull request job builder. So once a PR is enabled on this particular branch, it will create a build out of it, and so that we know if any compilations were happen, so we get to know very early stage. Even in a feature branches, when we enable multi-branch pipelines, so there's enabling multi-branch pipelines, enabling PR related things, or enabling webhooks, and enabling Polesium. Like whenever new check-in happens, my build has to trigger. Those things and all will be discussed while we are in a Jenkins. So while configuring the Jenkins jobs we get to know that. But for now, how we are integrating, and just giving you brief. So this is how, from the master branch, creating a feature branch, and once their work is done, these are just commits I'm mentioning about. So once their development is over, they have to raise a pull request back to the master, and once it is approved, it will merge. So this is just an basic idea that. So here, now this case, I'm getting a compilation issues. Let me just resolve it. In general, we don't resolve. So we'll just specify the developer by providing this error message. Hey, dev one, we're getting this particular error. Please look into this. So we might be having a Teams or some other medium for collaborating. Either some people still using the emails by keeping their managers and leads. So we are getting a compilation issues on this particular. Mostly they follow because whenever we are setting up new CI/CD model, so we used to enable the emails to whom we wanted to, notify or something. In nowadays, we have a Slack and Webex, some other collaborative teams, collaborative platforms. We can see instantly, like I will create a channel. So the channel name is CICD issues or build issues, Jenkins CI issues. What I will do whenever my job is done, if it is a success, sorry. So whenever my build is done, if it is failed, I will just post my failure result or console log into this particular space, whether it is a collaborative platform like a Teams or a Slack. So based on that authentication token, it will push my job failure to the particular group of any collaborative platform, so that every developers will be subscribed to this channel or will be a member of this particular group I have created. They'll get to know what is happening inside our Jenkins builds. If it is something failing with their commits, they have to look into it. Now let me check the Git status. And one more thing, let me just here, if you see, there is a dot class file also which was generated because I have compiled the Java code. When we compile a Java code, it will create a dot class file, which is a runnable format of my hello world Java file. So now my compilation is over, and the dot class file was created. To see the output of that generated file or compiled file, I can just simply use a Java hello world. Now I can see the both the two println statements which I have modified there. Now why I'm looking for git ignore dot class files. So in general, now this case I have only one Java file. So this is fine. Since I have one Java file, I can go and compile it manually. Java C followed by the file name. Imagine we have a 200 or 2000 or a 3000 Java files inside our project or inside our repository. Okay. So Maven was not installed. So there is a tool Maven which we will use or which we will discuss in the next session, or if time permits today only I will try to install and set up. So what exactly Maven will do? Maven is a builder tool. It will be used to build our Java source code if we have more than what we call number of files, so that instead of compiling each and every file, if I have a 2000 Java files in my repository, compiling each and every file by providing java c hyphen file 1 dot java, java c hyphen file 2 java, file 2 dot java. So if we started doing that manually, 2000 files for a single project compilation, it will take a whole day for with a manual effort. Even if we integrate with a Jenkins, compiling add or adding a single lines. So for 2000 files, I need to give 2000 statements of a Java compile. What is a compilation? Basically, I will just give you brief about that. We should be aware of the compile process, not in depth, but basically what is the need of a compilation actually when it comes to oops related technologies like java or .NET, some other technologies. Compilation is something, it is converting the source code into the byte code, that is a format. So bytecode is typically a system understandable format or a runtime format. Now when I do the java c, java compile, java c is a java compiler. So I'm compiling this particular java code to generate intermediate or binary code, so that this binary code can be run anywhere. Example, so now this case I'm copying this hello world to the previous directory. Let me go back there, and here I have a hello world dot class. Now I can see the result. That means when developer writes a code for hello world.java, it cannot be run on a target servers since it is not compiled, and my Java doesn't know what is a hello world.java file. So to get the result out of this particular Java file, I need to compile my source code. Once the compilation is over, it will generate a dot class file. So this is a dot class file which was generated as part of this compilation. So tomorrow we will generate a 2000 lines of a code or 2000 files of a code. So it will generate a 2000 dot class files. And out of 2000 dot class files, we used to create our own package. So when we are dealing that own package in the sense, so somewhere I have mentioned about a packages or types of installations. Yeah, tar, gz, gprar. But typically I'm talking about somewhere var and jar package apt binaries and the specific platform exedb. So the var or jar files that I will generate it from the dot class files. So out of this dot class file, we can generate either jar or var, so that those jar files or var files will be going to deploy into the target servers. Target server in the sense either that is a Tomcat or a WebSphere, WebLogic. There are many application or web servers in industry where we used to deploy our generated artifact. In our case, the generated artifact is hello world.java, since we are doing a demo and it is an only single file of a Java source code. And we will take another project when we are discussing about Jenkins, so that we will create either jar file or a var file over there, and we will deploy directly into the Tomcat with the help of a Jenkins. And so this is just a basic overview of how we what is the necessity of a compiling. any language. So there are other languages, there is no need of compilation. So developer has to just to write in a code, and they just have to run the particular source code. So from the source code, it will directly run. Example, let me take you to Python. Even our shell script is not compiled. If you remember, when we have directly ran this slash echo.sh file, so it has given our result, end result. So there are two types of here. One is a compiler, and another one is an interpreter. Compiler languages like C++, C, and .NET and Java. These are a compile. This has to be compiled, and once the compilation is over, it will be interpreted. Interpreted in the sense, once it is converted to the target system, and these can be run anywhere. Compile once, run anywhere. This is what people are talking about, a cross-platform support. So cross-platform support in the sense, now I have written the program in my MacBook and I have compiled it. I have compiled it, and this particular dot class can be, I can share it among any one of you. One is using CentOS and another one is using Ubuntu. So here the dot class is something we are generating intermediary. Let me just show you that a Python, any sample Python code where we don't need to compile it. Let me take a same print hello world. Oh, sorry. Now I'm inside a Python folder. So let me just create hello world.python. Now if you see, I have directly run this particular Python file with the help of a Python. So Python is also in a programming language, and we can use this Python for automation purpose and even for web development like Java. So here let me just list out, nothing is there apart from my Python file. So that means here I'm not compiling Python source code, rather what I'm doing, I'm directly running Python file. What exactly it will do, it won't compile, rather it will interpret whatever the content it is there inside our Python file. It will just take and give it input to the our kernel file. So that's what the interpretation means. So it will convert to the machine understandable language and give it to the kernel. So basically in Java, we are compiling it and converting manually, manual in the sense through our compilation process. either that is a Maven or Maven is a build tool. So with the help of Maven build automation tool, we are compiling our source code and generating .class files and generating jar or var files from these .class files. So this is how a compilation or interpretation, or what are the programming languages that doesn't need a compilation. Now you got to know what is the need of a compiling any source code. So some source code that doesn't support, like java hyphen hello world dot java. If I give this particular one, so strange, it shouldn't give. Let me just uh, look into this, but in general it should not give an output. Maybe with the latest java versions they have made it for the basic functions like println statements, they are giving output. It should not give an output, rather it will throw java function. Okay, java program for Fibonacci series. So the file name should be the class name in Java. Whenever we are looking into this particular file names, inside that file name, the function should be with the same name, the class. Yeah, still it is giving. Let me just look into this. Basically, it will throw the error without compiling any source code of a Java. It won't allow. That's where we are using a Maven build tool. Okay, Java 17. Okay, so still we are using an Java 1.8 or Java 8 in industry. One of my products, whatever I have worked on. But this is something strange. Let me just Google it and let me just contact with any of my friends circle who are in development. So if anything happened, and on this part, I will explain you tomorrow what exactly I'm talking about. Yeah, okay, let's leave about that. And now this case, I've compiled the source code and I have added a new file also. Let me just look into the Git status. So now I have one file is modified and one file is getting added. Now I need to add it. I'm just looking out a status. So everything is fine, up to date. And let me just push my changes. Sorry, and I need to generate a token, personal access token. I think hope everyone has set up the personal access token. So if someone has already missed, go to the developer settings in your user settings, and in the bottom left side, developer settings. So in a personal access token, we need to create a new token. So without a personal access token, it won't allow us to push your changes to HTTPS. If it is SSH, that is fine. So these are some scopes which I'm giving to my particular user or particular personal access token. We can generate uh, as many as tokens you want. For the purpose of generating a token is something, instead of entering our password, we can give our personal access token for not to expose, because these tokens can be revoked at any point of time. Let's say one situation we got to know someone has misused your personal access token, which you have mentioned in your Jenkins, or which you have updated in credential section of some other continuous integration tool. And immediately you can go with the personal access tokens, and you can revoke this particular personal access token. So that is how. And but when it comes to like an example, the password, we need to change the password every time when it is compromised, and we should not hard code the passwords somewhere in source code or somewhere in automation tools, which we are writing inside our private Git repositories. For that purpose, now this case, this is only for pushing my changes to the report remote. I'm just making.
So Rajendra, whenever a developer commit, they mandatorily they have to give this key.
Typically, they don't use a HTTPS,
Okay.
and this somewhere in a Git configs, we can hard code it to not to ask every time.
Okay, and also for EC2 instance, we have downloaded PEMKey while we launching the machine. But
Yes,
after launching machine, many people will connect to instance with IP address, right? So in that case,
yes.
they will not have any PEMKey. Then how they can connect?
So that's where IAM talks about. So when you have user privilege,
Okay.
and uh, they will enable us to directly log in without our PEM key. Rather, they used to authenticate with your user. So what you have to do, somewhere if you want to connect to the remote machine, now we are using EC2 SSH space EC2 user at the rate IP address. So that case you will use SSH and your username at the rate IP address. So with your user, it will try to authenticate it. So when people has configured AD groups or IAM or Active Directory groups or LDAP mechanism, that is authentication mechanism. If they set up, it will allow directly, and they will add you to some system groups. So you will be able to log in. Those things handle admin roles. So we don't need to be uh, having this PEM key. And some organizations like my previous organization, what they have done, They have given us some default PIM key. So whenever they are configuring a new machine, or whenever they are handovering a new resource or asset to the new joiner, so what they will do, so they will just copy inside SSH or something inside .pem folder. They will just copy the existing PIM key for everyone. That is a system administrator's responsibilities while setting up a new machine. So one organization follow one process, and some other organizations follow some other process. Like I said, whether they can go with LDAP or AD groups configuration instead of copying this PIM key manually into every user home. So it will vary from organization to organization. Now I'm creating a Mac push. This is just a name for my identification, creating a personal access token. So here I have a token. Now you can see anytime if you thought your token was compromised, and you can delete it, and or you can revoke all if you have multiple tokens. And based on our purpose, we can create a number of let's say tomorrow my need is something Jenkins clone only public repo invite private repositories. No, let me check read only, read and write access events, read packages. Read packages, admin public. So write discussion here somewhere in access public repositories. Yeah, this is a public repository, and we can enable deployment status access commits. So I'm not giving any other options rather than to just read out upon my public repositories. Read in the sense they can just clone it. So what exactly my Jenkins doesn't need any write operations. Let's say imagine you got a situation and you don't need to be provide your password. If you provide a password, and since DevOps, most of the DevOps guys or CI/CD teams are admins for code repositories as well, they don't provide their particular username and password hard coded to be anywhere in automation. So rather they will just utilize these personal access tokens based on an SCT. They will just create one token. Tomorrow I'm just doing an one automation thing, and for that I need to delete the repositories which are older than 30 days or 90 days or 1 year old. So in that case I'll just create a token only with delete underscore repo. I'll just disable every option. So I don't want to utilize all those stuff, because my purpose is only to delete the repo. So now this case I'm just creating with only read access with no expiration. And let me just save my old one. And this token, once you have generated, we have to copy and save it somewhere in your uh, personal location or confidential places, which cannot be recovered. The only way, you have to reset it. So I have two tokens now. Let me authenticate it to push my changes to the remote. Yeah. So it is getting rejected. Git push origin because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. And if you read it, it is trying to reject. It has rejected with these messages. Updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. This is usually used by another repository pushing to the same reference. You may want to first integrate the remote changes example git pull before pushing again. So here, whenever you encountered an issue, first you try to troubleshoot it for yourself, then look for solution in the Google. Then if you do not, get any solution for that, you have to come back in our WhatsApp group and you have to ask about that. So please try to set up all those things in your local so that since we have all everybody is most of them are working and you don't get a time very often to practice once the topic is over. So this case it is talking about my remote changes are already updated and I need to get those remote changes. What I exactly meant by that? So if you remember, I have shown you about here Sunday has on commit. Here I have a 4 commits, but if you remember in my local, I have only 2 commits. One is a 7C is the latest one, 7C, and another one is 9B, 199B. Not a 2 commits, 3 commits, but this third commit was not pushed to remote. While I'm pushing this particular commit to the remote, it is throwing an error. What exactly? After this particular change, there was many changes on my master. What is meant by that? FE5. This is 591. 59118 FE5. After this particular commit, there are 2 more commits in my remote repository on my master branch. So if I try to commit these changes, what is this meant by? On this particular second commit, I've created a third commit which name is 2151999B. So I'm telling Git, hey, please update my this particular commit on top of this particular FE5. But in a remote Git, it was already updated with some other developer changes. Renuka is a one developer, has already updated her code, and Sandhya is also another developer. She has updated her code on top of Renuka's code or Renuka's commit. Okay. So to get my changes to be affected there, I should be get the latest code, and on the latest code I need to add my code. Since I have already my code in my local, okay, I think, yeah. So since I have already updated my local code and but I haven't updated my code or my particular local master branch with the remote changes. So what I'm trying to do now, I'm getting these latest changes into my local. So what are the ways to get your remote changes or your remote branch changes or anything to your local? So there are two ways to get your changes from remote to your local. So one is with the help of git fetch. So in interviews, many times people used to ask about what is a git fetch and what is a git pull or git fetch versus git pull. Now we can see the difference. Git pull, origin, master, auto merging, hello world, conflict in hello world, automatic merge failed, fix the conflict and then commit the result. Let me just list out what is there. So I have Fibonacci file which I have created, and let me just open my Visual Studio Code. And now if you see, my file was something, it was corrupted. It is not exactly corrupted, it is an a merge conflict. There is another terminology, merge conflict. So what exactly the merge conflict is? These are my changes. The first one with a greater than symbol, sorry, less than symbol, and which is a greater than symbol is from the remote incoming change. Now we can see that this is the incoming change 004 004 D29B is a commit changes where it is getting a conflict. In general, conflict in the sense we know, right? Whenever we have issues with similar timings, or we have a multitask that we need to perform on the same time, we might get a conflicts. So in the same way, the terminology with the Git, conflicts are something it will talk about. If some developers are editing a particular file, let's say developer one. Now in this particular example, let me just expand it, what's there inside this particular commit. So Sandhya has modified this particular system.out.println line with, I have initial commit, I have updated and I pushed, but Sandhya has updated with first commit instead of initial. She has removed initial and she has updated first. But if you remember, in my local, when I was compiling, yeah, here, this is a Java file. Before committing or before getting remote changes into my local, I was at this place. In my same file, she has updated, a developer has updated with another code. So that means when some developers or multiple developers are working on a same file, on a same single line of a code, if file is having around 2000 lines or 3000 lines of a code, it doesn't mean that developer somewhere developer one is working or will start working on 1500 line, or some developers used to work on 100th line. So based on their necessity, they used to work based on their need. Sometimes they have to rewrite the existing reusable methods, and they used to always change the common method which they have defined. So and in that situation, they used to encounter these merge conflicts. But in general, most of the merge conflicts will be resolved by the developers. But in some situations, where these guys in interviews they used to ask how do you resolve your merge conflicts and what are the strategies to resolve those conflicts. So those stuff and all we just should be aware, but doesn't mean that we have to resolve those issues, since this is everything related to the code and developers know better than us. We doesn't know anything about that, which code we need to keep it, which code we need to remove it. But this time I'm resolving my merge conflict. So what I felt, okay, let's continue with Sandhya changes here. What is that? First commit. So I'm removing everything there. This will cause a syntax error. So I'm removing this commit also, this message also. I'm just aligning back. This first statement is Sandhya changes and followed by I have added a new line. Now I'm saving my file. Let me come back and see git status. So I have resolved my particular conflict with the help of Visual Studio, or I can directly edit through vi space hello world.java by removing all of that, or something anytime if you feel no, I don't want to resolve these things and I just want to. So now I have done accidentally, I have resolved the issue, and I later I realized that I don't want to, and I just want to go back to the previous state. See, now it has come down to the previous state where my code was there, the initial commit. So everything is fine, and now we can see the remote changes were not taken place. I'm in a previous stage. So when you abort your git merge, when you are fixing git conflicts, it will just reset to your previous state. Again, I need to pull the changes. Now it will throw the same error. So these are types of what we call git config, pull rebase, false. Okay. Types of merges whenever we are pulling down your changes, and if there are any conflict and we need to resolve it with the help of merge or with the help of a rebase or a fast forward, what kind of a mechanism to follow when we are getting remote code to the local. So let me enable it one command, but it won't solve any problem here in this case, but this works for different branching strategy. Once this push is over, I will explain you about what is a branching strategy. Now this case again I need to resolve the merge conflict. Here you can see, if at all it won't allow me to push my changes because of this merge conflict. When multiple developers are working on a same file, most of the times which we used to get these kind of a merge conflicts. I'm saving the file now. Git status.
So to remove this merge conflicts, you are just removing others changes, right?
Yes. Now this case, I have accepted Sandhya changes of a one line. So what I feel, okay, this change has to be reflected. That's where I have updated Sandhya changes. first. Mine was earlier initial commit, and later I have just continued with the Sandhya changes and I have added a new line. In my previous commit, I have added a new line. So those will be continued. Now I'm committing. So if you see on this particular commit, today I have done Fibonacci code added to the new file. And after that, Sandhya changes has come on top of my Fibonacci code, and then followed by my latest commit. Sorry, Renuka commit, and then no. This is in a reverse manner. This is the first commit which I have done, and this is the second commit, and followed by Renuka has done some commits yesterday in the evening call, and then followed by another developer changes, and these are my today changes. Today in the morning we have done this particular change, and followed by this is a latest commit which I have done after resolving my merge conflict. So here what exactly this is for: whenever we encountered any merge conflict, the ultimate way is we have to resolve the merge conflict and we have to commit those changes. We are resolving merge conflict in the sense we are editing this particular source code, whether their changes or my changes, or I'm including both changes. I need to edit this file, I need to save this file, and right, whenever we are saving a particular file or whenever we are saving particular diff or a new content inside our existing Git file, it will create a difference. So that we need to add this particular file, git add or something, git commit -am, which we have used. So after adding this git commit am, and I have passed this Fibonacci code added to new file, then I'm just coming back. So everything is up to date now. Now I'm ready to push my changes to the remote. And if you see here, your branch is ahead of master by 2 commits. Why 2 commits? Since I have shown you here, one commit is that I have added my Fibonacci new file, and another commit is I have resolved my merge conflicts. So these 2 commits were not there in remote. Still, my remote repository is having Sandhya changes are a latest, which is 11 hours back. Now I'm committing my changes. Let me just refresh it, and we can see a Fibonacci code added to new file. And one more thing about this particular timing. This timing is something it is talking about when we are, this is not something when we are pushing to the remote. That is not the time. Rather, this is the time when we are committing into our local Git repo. And as I said, it is a distributed one. Developers can work anytime in their local machine without connecting to the remote. But here we can see 30 minutes ago, I haven't pushed any code 30 minutes ago. So this particular commit is talking about the commit which I have done in my local machine. In my local machine, we have done this around 9:30 or 9:10. So that was the time, and this particular change is 4 minutes back. This code is talking about merge conflict. We have resolved a merge conflict, and we have added new lines of a code, and we have removed some additional characters, and there is a collaboration which we were talking about in initial introduction session of a Git. Let's say in my case, somebody is reviewing my code, and or something I want to add Sandhya who has done recent changes with previous commit. Mm, so since he has modified from initial to first, if some situations developer doesn't know for what they have modified this particular change, and they just want to know for what purpose they have done this, developer one has done this particular change, changing this initial to first message. This is just a kind of a comments that I'm giving to my particular commit message is a different, and the comment is a different. Comment always talk about collaborating on that particular change. On this particular commit, we are collaborating to discuss something, to discuss about this particular change. So she may reply with a particular thing. Hey, yeah, because we have changed somewhere in our some login service, and we need to reflect it somewhere here. That's why we have made some changes, so that developers they get to know, and even in the future we get to know, or their leads know that this particular change has done this particular purpose. It is some kind of elaborated way, or this is what we called a team collaboration. Git supports the collaboration. And yeah, let me just go back. So here we have a latest code which I have committed, and let's discuss about branches. So far we have a one single branch. To create a new branch where we can use git checkout -b, the branch name. Now, in this case I'm creating develop branch. So here I'm just listing out my branches. So the green color one which is showing asterisk symbol is my current branch, and master is inactive one, since I have switched to the develop branch. So now right now I'm in a develop branch, and whatever the content, example git log, one line, I can see all of those commits inside my develop. If you remember, I was talking about commit or git log is something, it is talk it will talk about only the commits which are made on the particular branch. Right now in my develop branch, I haven't done any changes, but still I can see my logs of a master branch because I've created a branch from the master branch. I've created this particular develop branch from the master branch. So all the master branch history will reflect here. From this point, from this point, from the master, I've created a feature branch. Here feature branch I'm talking about develop. So from this point, we can add our own changes to the develop branch. Once the develop branch changes are over, I can merge back to the master in future. And likewise, other developers also used to do, and their changes also will be merged to the master. So developer one changes are ahead from my changes. In that case, I need to resolve the merge conflict. So that doesn't mean that every time we get a merge conflict. So whenever the same developers, whenever the multiple developers are working on a same file, so we encounter the merge conflicts, then we can resolve the merge conflict. We in the sense the developers, but we should aware of how they are resolving the merge conflicts. So this case, let me add a new ls Fibonacci. I'm just renaming my Fibonacci example 1 to some other name, Fibonacci. But I need to enter update the file name as well inside the class name as well. I'm just using X to delete a single character in VI mode. If you want to delete entire line, we can use DD. To be specific, now I'm using X, it is deleting. If I use DD, pressing two times DD, so it is just removing the single whole line. And if you want to delete 5 lines from here, 5 DD, it is deleting a 5 lines. Or as now I want to delete a 6 lines, 6 DD. So every command which you are executing in a VI mode should be in escape mode, not in a insert mode. Delete a character, DD.
For
When you
creating
press
branch,
0, so from coming sessions, what I will do, I will share the note as well somewhere in a shared location. So git branch -b followed by the branch name. So I don't want to reflect these changes. I'm just pressing escape Q exclamatory so that these changes won't change. Fibonacci, yes. I'm clear now. Git status on a new develop branch. I have made some changes. I've deleted. If you see, we have moved our change, our particular file name to the different file name. Since it is a moved, it won't drag under Git. If we use Git move, it might, not it might, it will track the changes. But we have used a Linux commands to rename this particular file. But what internally Git thinks that so this particular file was removed and this particular file was added newly. So again, I need to add Fibonacci Java git status. It is added. Git commit. So I'm committing my changes. I'm pushing my changes to remote. Sorry. Why? Because it is not pushing. I'm trying to say origin master. So I'm trying to push my changes to the master, but I'm in a develop branch. So it is telling that master is up to date with your local changes because we are not modifying anything inside my master branch. So I have given git push origin develop. So origin is a develop. Please push my changes to the develop. So there is no commit here because here if you see only master is there. Now we have a develop branch as well. That means now I have got a ticket assigned and I can create git checkout my Jira ticket number, Jira iPhone, or every company uses a different terminology. 3125435 is my ticket number. With this ticket, I can create a branch and I can, once my work is over, I can directly push my changes to the remote. So from the remote, let's say this case, my task is on a develop branch. 2 minutes ago, I have changed a particular file name and I have committed my changes. And after that, my integrate jobs will trigger my Jenkins jobs or whatever compilation jobs which we have configured. Those will be triggered on this particular develop branch. So what I feel, at end of the day, once my task is over, I need to raise a pull request from develop to master, compare and pull request. This is the one thing. So here we can choose a new pull request or compare and pull request as well. Both are the same. This case, why it is an option, it is showing since we have recently updated in a develop branch, it is giving a suggestion whether you want to go with this particular branch. If you have multiple branches and your intention is to work with other branch, you can choose a create a new pull request. This case I'm following with the same from develop to master. So renaming Fibonacci file. So that is the only change I've done. And I'm, if at all we need to add any comments like we have done these many changes or that is everything related to the developer actions, and we can raise a create a pull request. So here we have an option open a pull request that is ready for review. We can add the no reviewers here. We can add the reviewers. Let me just add Renuka as a reviewer and I can ask anyone if at all I want to add any subtask to my this particular pull request. I can add some other developers also in this list. So label and all these are optional. As I mentioned, if it is an Jira task, whether it is a bug fix or any hot fix, let's say in this case, this is a bug which was reported from QA team, and I'm working on that particular ticket, and now I have fixed my changes. I can mention this is a bug. So there are no other projects associated. Or milestones is something it will talk about since it is a package of a collaboration platform, like even a project. If you see the SDLC model, we have discussed about a Jira for a project tracking. So everything we can achieve here. But since we have a dedicated platforms, most of the people doesn't use these features. So the only thing we use here, create a pull request and assign the reviewers. So once a reviewer approves this, let me create a pull request. Here I can see merge pull request because I'm the administrator and I have a privileges to merge these changes even without approval. So if somebody is there from the developer end who is having only read access, they cannot review, they cannot merge it directly. So Renika, could you please approve this?
Yes.
And anytime this open pull request, we can see in a pull request section. And if you want to add any changes, in this case, yeah, reviewer Renuka has updated some comments and mentioning about this particular change needs some more clarification or code refinement, and somewhere in a code I haven't modified properly. And she can suggest what are the things can happen or what are the modifications where we can do with the comments. And so that once I have worked, I can go with edit option or directly in a comment section. I can do the coding on top of that. And once the coding is over, based on the reviewer comments, I can re-raise a same pull request. I can update the pull request code directly here. And reviewer can see this merge pull request option once they review it. The one more thing, we have multiple options. Create a merge commit. What exactly merge commit? As discussed in this particular flow diagram. So on this particular commit, I have raised the just imagine that this is a commit which I have done for renaming my Fibonacci file name. And from this, I've created a pull request to master branch. So this commit is going to create a new commit on a master because it is creating a merge. So once I commit, it will create a new commit apart from existing commit. Existing commit is something I have named it as renaming Fibonacci file. And once it is merged, it will create another commit. So that is what it is talking about. And one more thing, squash and merge. One commit from this branch will be added to the base branch. If you don't want uh, your commits to be duplicated, we can use a squash. Duplicated in the sense you don't want two commits and you want all of them in a single commit. So we can use this squash, but most of the times the first option by default they use. And one more thing, rebase. Rebase, 99% of the situations nobody use the rebase, and we'll discuss about what is the difference between merge and rebase in tomorrow's session.
I have approved. Did you get the request?
Still it is pending reviewer.
Still.
One second. If do you want to share the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Uh, mm, mm, Still, share option is not enabled.
Make presenter. Yes. Now.
ఇప్పుడు వచ్చింది. ఇదే కదా మీరు రిక్వెస్ట్
Uh,
పంపించారు.
where you have approved? No, approving in the text that is just a comments. So
ఓకే.
comments just for collaboration purpose. If there is any change, if there is something you feel on that particular file, you don't like the code format or the logic, and if you are suggesting a new code changes, you can mention in the comments. But here in just select the repository hello world. In hello world we have a pull request option. There is a one symbol in a pull request in the top. Code issues pull request just above. Yeah, there is a one symbol, right? One. This is a existing one, open pull request. So we have to click on that. This below one. Yes, you need to approve it somewhere. Just scroll up. Requested review this. Add your review. Just click on that. What is that? Add your review in the top right button. Yes. What is that? Review change option. Approve.
Okay.
Submit the review.
Now we do that.
So now you have a privileges to merge directly from your end. As a reviewer, you have to merge this pull request. Just click on that merge pull request. Yes, confirm. So pull request successfully
So
merged and closed. And once a pull
for
request is merged, we can delete the branch also. Yeah, please.
for creating the branch, you have used another command git checkout.
Yes, git checkout
Mm,
hyphen b is a branch.
okay. So both we can use.
Yes, not both. Both in the sense git checkout hyphen b, the branch name. So
But previously we have shown git branch hyphen b and branch name.
no, git checkout hyphen b I have used. Git branch I have used to just list out what are the branches we have.
Okay.
Okay. And now just let me share my screen. And the pull request was successfully merged and closed. And anytime if you feel if developer wanted to delete, and he can delete his changes, not a changes, his branch from the source branch. Since for every ticket they used to create a future branches, after 1 year or 2 years the branches will become a headache. Like every day the developers used to create 1 to 2 branches, and the whole year it will be around 1,000 to 2,000 branches, and they don't want to maintain those branches. They can delete it directly, the develop branch. So we should not delete the master branch. That is a main baseline code. Let me just explain you about git branching strategy. So git flow is a branching strategy where main branch and a develop branch are the primary branches. So if you see the light blue color, I don't know this pink or this colors, I wasn't aware. So brinjal color, right? Maroon, yeah. So this light
Oh,
blue color,
maroon.
okay. The light blue color
Violet.
is a main branch.
Okay.
Yeah, violet or maroon. Okay. So this develop branch, we can see the commits, how it is happening. And the main branch is talking about something version. Now it is clear, right, for you? Git branching strategy here typically talks about my main branch. We are not allowing the developers to push their local changes. like we have done earlier, on a code section, on a master branch, there are a commits which I have done, followed by Renika has done some commits, and Sandhya also done some commits. In real time, we don't allow the developers to push their changes directly to the remote master branch. So now this case master, and some people call it as a main branch. So main branch, we are not allowing the developers to commit their regular the code changes. What we are doing now, we have done in the form of a pull request. So these particular changes has come with the help of pull request, in the form of pull request. I'm just using a git log here. So the Fibonacci file rename, and let me just go back to my master git. Why I'm going back to the master? On a master, we have done a merge recently, and it has created one commit. And if you see, Renuka has committed 5 minutes ago, but this changes was made by me. Since he has approved and it is verified, the commit was made from the reviewer. Since the reviewer has merged those changes into master branch. Git checkout master. So git checkout is something we switch between branches. If we have a number of branches, you want to go back to the particular branch, we can mention git checkout master. Now I'm switching to master from develop, and it is clearly showing about git branches behind origin master. ఇది రిమోట్ కంటే 2 commits behind ఉంది. సో you need to update your changes అని చెప్తుంది. Update your local branch. Git pull. Earlier నేను fetch చూయించాను, సారీ git pull చూయించాను. గిట్ ఫెచ్ చేస్తే ఏమొస్తుందో ఒక్కసారి చూడండి. గిట్ పుల్ చేస్తే, గిట్ ఫెచ్ అంటే రిమోట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ మొత్తాన్ని కాపీ టు లోకల్ git folder .git server, and it won't merge. In a git pull, copy remote changes and merge to current branch. This doesn't mean that it does mean that from the remote develop branch, it will merge to my local develop branch, not with so this case I'm in a master branch. So if I use git pull, it will directly take the remote changes and it will merge into my workspace. So now Fibonacci example 1 my file name, but in a remote I have renamed it to Fibonacci. So whenever I use git pull, it will directly apply the remote changes into my local. Earlier we have seen when we have taken the remote changes and we have got some merge conflicts, and after editing that, the local changes are updated with the remote changes. And this case, git pull I'm using, git fetch I'm using. Let me just see git fetch origin. So I have nothing in my local, so nothing has updated. So it will just take a remote changes and it will just update those changes here. So what I've done, after getting a remote changes, I just listed down I have no changes in my local. So it will just take a remote changes and keep it in a local Git server. And without internet also, we can do that with the help of Git pull. Or I have done Git merge from the develop. Those both will do the same function since it is already taken the remote references to the local. And not only when we do the git fetch, not only from the current branch, example, when we do the git fetch, it won't update not only from the particular branch to branch. In this case, git master is my branch. I've taken a git fetch latest code from the remote and it is not updating in my workspace. So for updating that, I've used git pull or git merge. So here in a git pull, whenever we do the git pull, it will directly take the remote changes and it will just merge those remote changes into my current branch. Example, let me just edit a single file directly in the master, or let me just add a new file, create a new file, git pull test. Git pull is a file name that I'm creating. It is inside my master branch. And anytime if you want to make this particular change as a pull request, we can create that as well. Here, if I select this, create a new branch, and with this new branch, I want to propose the changes. And if I don't want to commit my changes to the master. And this is how developers used to create a new feature branch. Example, here they will select this one and they will give this patch one or something, whatever the task they have got. From the UI also we can create a branches. From the command line also we can create the branches. So based on their flexibility, they used to follow. Now this case we are not creating any branch. New file for pull test. I'm committing a new file. Now we have got a new file in a remote master branch. If I do git pull origin master, now you can see it is forcefully overridden or updated our local workspace. So earlier when I do git fetch, it hasn't updated anything. It was a same as like before fetch. So it will just update the local references. That means it will just update my .git server, which is there in my particular folder, this particular repository, local repository. So whenever as and when I need it, I can merge, or as and when I need it, I can just pull those changes from the local without internet. So that is a difference between git fetch and git pull, and followed by the branching strategy, which we are discussing about. So here in a main branch is something we maintain a stable baseline code. That's where we don't allow the developers to directly push their changes to this particular main branch. And the develop branch is the other branch where onto this develop branch, what we are doing now on a master branch, let's just imagine this blue color, light blue is a master branch, not a main one. Now, as of now, what we are doing from the develop, we are raising a pull request to the master. So from the develop somewhere this particular commit I want to move to the master, I'm raising pull request to the master. So instead of that, a typical branching strategy, what exactly it talks about, this is how it looks. I was talking about a feature multiple times. when developer is working on their local branches, either bug fixes or features or any production support tickets, they used to create a new branch out of it. Maybe one developer create from this particular point of a time. Imagine example, that example of this particular new branch creation. Today on our 14th March, I've created this particular branch, feature branch. And tomorrow, after day after tomorrow, and another developer will create from this particular commit the new branch. These are, just imagine, these are future commits. How these future commits will happen on this particular develop branch? Once this developer has finished his code or code changes, once he finished back, and once he raises a pull request to the develop branch, like we have done for develop to master. So in general, the best practices is we have to work on a feature branches, this blue color feature branches. Once feature branch is over, we need to merge back to the develop branch. So likewise, multiple feature branches and multiple developers will start working on their feature branches. And once the feature is over, they used to raise pull request to the develop branch. So from the develop branch, we used to create integrate jobs. Once everything is fine, once the people has decided to move these changes into lower environments like a QA or something, uh, what we call pre-prod U8 or some other environments, they can create a pull request or they can directly merge to the master from the develop branch. So that is how we follow. in And typically for production releases and release process, we can create release branches from the develop branch. Once the release branches are created from the develop branch, so these release branches, out of these release branches, we used to generate a builds like version 1.0 or version 1.2. So after generating those builds, we deploy into the testing environment. Once we deploy into the testing environment, once they validated, it will be moved to the production. Once the production is over, from these release branches or from these develop branches, we have to merge those code to the master. After merging that, we need to create a tag out of it. This version 1.0, version 0.2, version 0.1 are the tags where you want to look back anytime a particular release code. So if you see here, this every blue dot is an one commit, and this one is also commit, this one is also commit, and after 1 year I want to get a particular 0.1 release. We cannot go and check each and every commit. That's where we have a tags, where we can mention that version v.01 is a tag for this particular release, for this quarter release. And yearly, if we have four releases, we can maintain that v1, v2, v3, v4. So based on the company naming standards, some people use in my old organization we use v release slash with the release date name. Once the production release is over, so we just merge the code from the develop branch to the master branch, and we'll create a tag out of it. So creating a tag, and we will see that in the next section. So yeah, this is just a overview about git fetch, git pull, and how can we create a pull request, and how can we create a branches, switch between the branches, and the basic branching git flow branching strategy. So how we can see the logs and the differences stash, and we'll discuss in tomorrow session. And once the git is over, the basic things and all, please try to contribute, try to add some content or add some folders and create a pull request and create your own branches, and from your own branches add your content and add your once content addition is over, this case now don't create a pull request to the master. So please create a pull request to the develop branch from now onwards. So whenever you got some time, just to create a new file or just any text file or edit existing one and create a pull request to the develop branch, so that add one of your team member as a contributor. So suppose you are practicing, you have a friends there, and you can add your friend to the review section, and they have to review and merge your changes, and you can see the multiple feature branches, how we are merging, how we are creating a pull request, so those stuff and all. And at the same time, some other developer also uses this particular develop branch, and if they are told they want to create a new feature branch, once they have created, your changes are already ahead of their changes, and they will encounter the merge pull request, sorry, not a pull request, they encounter the merge conflict like we have encountered.
రాజేంద్ర,
Yeah.
నాకు ఈ గిట్ పుల్ కొంచెం కన్ఫ్యూజింగ్ గా ఉంది.
సో గిట్ పుల్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇది రిమోట్ చేంజెస్ మొత్తాన్ని తీసుకొచ్చి లోకల్ బ్రాంచ్లో అప్డేట్ చేస్తుంది. గిట్ పుల్ ఎందుకు, నేను ఇంతకు ముందు ఇక్కడ జస్ట్ 1 minute బ్యాక్ ఏం చేశాను, ఈ పర్టికులర్ మాస్టర్ బ్రాంచ్లో గిట్ పుల్ అని ఒక న్యూ ఫైల్ క్రియేట్ చేశాను. ఈ ఫైల్ని,
ఓకే.
ఈ రిమోట్ చేంజెస్ని నా లోకల్కి తెచ్చుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నాను. ద ఓన్లీ వే వీ హ్యావ్ 2 ways, గిట్ ఫెచ్ ఒకటి, గిట్ పుల్ ఒకటి. సో గిట్ ఫెచ్ ఏం చేస్తుందంటే, ఇమాజిన్ ఇందాక నేను నా లోకల్ నా లోకల్లో వచ్చేసరికి ఏం చేంజెస్ లేవు కాబట్టి నేను డైరెక్ట్ గిట్ పుల్ తీసుకున్నాను. అలా కాకుండా నా లోకల్లో ఏమైనా చేంజెస్ ఉంటే నేను గిట్ పుల్ తీసుకోకుండా రాదర్ నేను ఎలా ప్రొసీడ్ అవ్వచ్చు అంటే, ఏమో నాకు తెలియదు. గిట్ రిమోట్లో ఆల్రెడీ నేను లోకల్లో చేంజ్ చేసిన ఫైల్స్ని మోడిఫై చేస్తున్నారు అనుకోండి వేరే డెవలపర్, సో అవి వచ్చి నా దాంట్లో ఓవర్ రైడ్ అవుతాయి. ఓవర్ రైడ్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు మధ్య కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్లు క్రియేట్ అవుతాయి. సో ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు ఎన్కౌంటర్ దెమ్, సో ఐ కెన్ యూస్ గిట్ ఫెచ్. సో లేదు, నేను గిట్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ఇప్పుడే నేను రిజాల్వ్ చేసుకుంటాను, నాకు టైం ఉందనుకుంటే డైరెక్ట్ గిట్ పుల్ ఇచ్చుకొని ఆరిజిన్ అంటే రిమోట్ మాస్టర్లో ఉన్న చేంజెస్ అన్నిటిని లోకల్లోకి తెచ్చుకుంటే, నాకు ఏమైనా కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్స్ వచ్చాయనుకోండి, అప్పుడు వచ్చినప్పుడు నేను డైరెక్ట్గా అప్పుడే రిజాల్వ్ చేసుకొని కమిట్ చేసుకుంటాను. గిట్ పుల్ అయితే డైరెక్ట్గా తీసుకొచ్చి రిమోట్ చేంజెస్ని మన లోకల్ వర్క్ స్పేస్లో ఓవర్ రైడ్ చేస్తుంది, ఆర్ లోకల్ వర్క్ స్పేస్ని అప్డేట్ చేస్తుంది రిమోట్లో ఉన్న చేంజెస్తో. సో గిట్ ఫెచ్ వచ్చేసరికి వర్క్ స్పేస్ నేమ్ అప్డేట్ చేయదు, జస్ట్ గిట్ సర్వర్ మనకి డాట్ గిట్ ఫోల్డర్ ఉంటుంది కదా, కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఫోల్డర్ అది గిట్కి, దాంట్లో అప్డేట్ చేస్తుంది. బట్ లోకల్లోకి చేంజెస్ రావు, మన వర్క్ స్పేస్లోకి, మన ప్రజెంట్ మాస్టర్ బ్రాంచ్లోకి చేంజెస్ రావు. మనం ఎప్పుడైనా ఇంటర్నెట్ డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయినప్పుడు ఆ చేంజెస్ని మనం తెచ్చుకోవాలి అనుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు గిట్ పుల్ వాడుకొని లోకల్ చేంజెస్ని తెచ్చుకోవచ్చు. సో గిట్ పుల్ ఫ్రమ్ ద
ఓకే.
రిమోట్ ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ ద లోకల్ చేంజెస్. సో రిమోట్ నుంచి తీసుకొని ఒకేసారి అప్లై చేస్తే ఓవర్ రైడ్ చేసేస్తుంది, లేదు లోకల్ నుంచి తీసుకుంటే ఓవర్ రైడ్ చేయకుండా డైరెక్ట్గా ఇస్తుంది. సో మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద టైం గిట్ పుల్ వాడుకుంటూ ఉంటుంటాం. కొంతమంది డెవలపర్స్ ఎక్కువ కోడ్తో వర్క్ చేసేటప్పుడు వాళ్ళు అదంతా ఓవర్ రైడ్ చేసుకోదలుచుకోరు, అందుకని చెప్పి గిట్ ఫెచ్ వాడుకుంటుంటారు.
కాదు, ఇప్పుడు మనం ఫస్ట్ క్లోన్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు ఆల్రెడీ వచ్చేస్తాయి కదా, మళ్ళీ గిట్ పుల్ ఎందుకు?
క్లోన్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు మనం ఎవ్రీడే క్లోన్ చేసుకోం కదా కోడ్. ఒక డెవలపర్ ఉన్నాడు లేకుంటే మనమే ఉన్నాం అనుకుంటే, వన్స్ మన కోడ్ మనం క్లోన్ చేసుకున్న తర్వాత మల్టిపుల్ డెవలపర్స్
ఓకే.
ఒక 100 కమిట్స్
ఇన్కమింగ్
చేశారు
చేంజెస్.
రిమోట్లో. అయ్యా న్యూ
ఓకే.
చేంజెస్ ఏవైనా వచ్చాయంటే ఎవ్రీ టైం మనం క్లోన్ చేసుకోము న్యూ చేంజెస్ని, రాదర్ ఫెచ్ చేసుకుంటాం లేకపోతే పుల్ చేసుకుంటాం టు జస్ట్
ఓకే.
అప్డేట్ అవర్ వర్క్ స్పేస్. క్లియర్ కదా?
ఓకే.
యా. సో ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే గ్రూప్లో పెట్టండి, లేకుంటే రేపు మార్నింగ్ సెషన్లో ఫస్ట్ ఫస్ట్ హాఫ్లోనే డిస్కస్ చేసుకుందాం ఇనిషియల్
ఓకే.
మినిట్స్లో.
ఓకే.
ఓకే. సో అందరూ కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. ఫీచర్ బ్రాంచ్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకొని ఫ్రమ్ డెవలప్ నుంచి, మాస్టర్ నుంచి క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవద్దు. ఇప్పుడు మనకి డెవలప్ బ్రాంచ్ ఉంది కాబట్టి డెవలప్ నుంచి క్రియేట్ చేసుకొని ఒక ఫీచర్ బ్రాంచ్, మీరందరూ ఒక్కొక్క ఫీచర్ బ్రాంచ్ మీద వర్క్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉండండి. న్యూ ఫైల్ యాడ్ చేసుకోవడం, ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ ఫైల్ని మాడిఫై చేయడం, దెన్ తర్వాత పిఆర్ రైట్ చేసి మీ టీంలో ఎవరినన్నా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేసి దాన్ని అప్రూవ్ చేసి మర్జ్ చేసేలాగా చూసుకోండి. అప్పుడైనా
ఇప్పుడు
కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ యా.
డెవలప్ అనే బ్రాంచ్ మీ రిపాజిటరీలో ఉంది కదా?
అవును, మీరందరు కొలాబరేటర్స్ కాంట్రిబ్యూటర్స్ కాబట్టి మీకు వస్తుంది కదా.
ఓకే.
సో మీరు గిట్ ఫెచ్ గిట్ పుల్ డైరెక్ట్గా వాడేస్తే, ఫస్ట్ గిట్ ఫెచ్ తీసుకొని గిట్ చెక్అవుట్, మీరు -b ఇవ్వని అవసరం లేదు. ఇప్పుడు గిట్ చెక్అవుట్ డెవలప్ ఇచ్చేస్తే డెవలప్లోకి స్విచ్ అయిపోతుంది డిఫాల్ట్గా. ఎందుకంటే ఆల్రెడీ డెవలప్ రిమోట్లో ఉంది. గిట్ ఫెచ్ ఆడి మీ లోకల్లోకి కూడా తెచ్చుకున్నారు.
ఇప్పుడు
గిట్
మీరు
చెక్అవుట్
అనేది
ఆడితే
డెవలప్లో మళ్ళీ బ్రాంచ్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకోమని చెప్తున్నారు.
ఫ్రమ్ డెవలప్ క్రియేట్ యువర్ ఓన్ ఫీచర్ బ్రాంచ్.
ఓకే.
ఓకేనా? సో యా అది